I'm Dr. Deven Carlson, Associate Director of the National Institute for Risk and Resilience and Assistant Professor in the Department of Political Science at the University of Oklahoma. In this video, I'll be discussing public policy and the policy-making process. At a basic level, public policy specifies who gets what, when, and how. For example, public policy specifies how much pollution power plants can emit, or the size of the tax credit that citizens receive if they buy a fuel-efficient vehicle. In specifying who gets what, when, and how, public policy is inherently connected to politics. If public policy specifies who gets what, when, and how, then politics is the fight that leads up to the specification of the what, the when, and the how. Politics is the sparring of the utilities and the environmental groups over the proper level of power plant pollution. Politics is the debate between fuel efficiency proponents and deficit hawks over whether government should reduce citizens' taxes for purchasing a fuel-efficient vehicle. In that sense, public policy is the result of an inherently political process. Politics and public policy are intricately linked. In addition to who gets what, when, and how, it is clear that public policy is made in response to a problem, either real or perceived. It is also made on behalf of the public by governments or an organization with some enforcement authority. Public policy can consist of both action and inaction, and it is interpreted and implemented by a wide variety of entities in both the public and private sectors. These entities are organizations or individuals and include city councils, homeowners associations, and even student governments. For our purposes here, though, I'm going to restrict my discussion to the formal institutions and actors at the federal level in the United States. Covered in Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, Congress is the first major venue in which policy is made at the federal level. Congress consists of two chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate, that operate independently of one another. Congress makes public policy by passing legislation in the form of bills or resolutions. However, a bill or resolution is not public policy until each chamber passes it in an identical format and is signed into law by the President. This often represents a significant hurdle to creating policy, particularly when the two chambers are controlled by different political parties. In addition to Congress, public policy can also be made by the executive branch, led by the President. The President's formal policy-making powers involve the ability to either sign or veto legislation passed by Congress and issue executive orders that have the force of law. The President also has a number of informal powers and advantages that can help him or her achieve desired policy outcomes. For example, the President has the ability to command significant media attention, has access to vast information, and oversees many executive branch agencies, such as the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the Department of the Interior, and the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. These bureaucratic agencies also have significant policy-making powers via the regulation or rule-making process. After Congress passes legislation, the bureaucracy has the power to fill in the details, to issue regulations that clarify and specify aspects of the legislation. These regulations have the force of law and most definitely qualify as public policy. Finally, public policy is made in the courts, the judicial branch of the federal government. The courts have historically been described as an apolitical institution charged with interpreting the Constitution and ensuring that laws remain within its boundaries. This description masks the fact that courts have the power to make public policy. Courts are responsible for determining, for example, whether the Environmental Protection Agency has the power to regulate power plant emissions. Courts adjudicate disputes between the federal and state governments over who gets to make all sorts of decisions. In short, courts have the power to shape who gets what, when, and how. It is important to note that other unofficial actors also play important roles in shaping public policy. Interest groups, lobbyists, political parties, the media, think tanks, research organizations, and even individual citizens all may shape public policy. One simple model frames the policy-making process in 6 distinct stages. The first stage of the process is issue emergence, where policymakers come to realize that there is a problem that needs to be addressed via public policy. The second stage is agenda setting. In this stage, the problem at hand competes with other problems for the limited attention and resources available to address problems. If a problem reaches a high enough spot on the agenda, the next stage is alternative selection. There are typically multiple potential solutions to any given problem, and one of these potential solutions is identified as the preferred option. Enactment is the fourth stage of the policy process. This stage represents the formal action taken in response to a policy problem. The passage of legislation, issuance of regulations, or the signing of an executive order are all examples. After enactment comes implementation, which is the process of putting policy into practice. Implementation is often overlooked, but the quality with which a policy is implemented plays an important role in the ultimate success of that policy. The final stage of the policy process is evaluation, where analysts determine whether a public policy has achieved its goals. In this model, one stage occurs after another. In reality, though, the policy process can be highly nonlinear, and some policies skip some stages altogether. Public policy is a key component in planning and managing for a changing climate. As we have seen, though, it is a complex process within a single government. This illustrates some of the challenges of creating and enacting international policies on climate change.